Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. The recitation, Dhanasari Mahalla Pehla, composition of the first Nanak, in the rag Dhanasari, and the recitation. Dhanasari Mahalla Pehla, Nadar Kare ta Simaria a-jai, Atma drave rahe livlai, Atma paratma eko kare, Antar ki dubda antar mare. This is the first verse. And if you recall, in the previous verse, in the previous Shabad rather, Guruji had asked, how should I recall? How should I do Simran? Kyu Simre? And in this verse, he provides the answer. The answer is that Simran, by which he means a centered awareness, cannot be willed, that ultimately it is a gift of grace. Nadar Kare ta Simaria a-jai. When grace bestows its glance, then remembrance becomes possible. Simran is exactly that. It is remembrance. It is to recall into the mind, through practice, through spiritual practice, through the sabad, to recall Naam, if you will. And that cannot happen through the ego. At some point, the ego has to die. What that means is not your individuality, of course, but your conditioning, your perspective. So he's saying, Atma drave rahe livlai. That self within has to melt and become absorbed in the self. Rahe livlai. The being has to melt, dissolve. Atma paratma eko kare. The small self and the large self have to be completely absorbed. Antar ki dubda antar mare. This inner conflict, the duality within, that lack of integration that we experience between mind, thought, action, that has to dissolve. So nadar, from the Persian word nazar, it means to look or a glance. It also means a gift. So Simran is a gift. What that means is you have to self-exert, but that is like clearing the weeds, so to speak, to ready the ground of the mind. But you cannot force that remembrance, that recollection. You cannot force the flower to bloom, but you can nourish the ground so that the seed will grow. The seed is already in you. You just have to water it because the source is within you. That's the seed. So essentially what you have to do, Gur Prasadi Paya Jai, Harsyon Chit Lage Fir Kal Na Khai. Very clear. The grace is that of the Gurus, meaning wisdom, knowledge. The real is attained through the Guru. And once that happens, the mind is no longer consumed by fear of death. This essentially tells us that the wisdom of the Guru is benign, and it is the mediating agency that works between the small self and hukam. Sach Simaria hove pargas. Through mindful remembrance of the eternal being, that is, when the Guru instructs you, an inner illumination dawns. Hove pargas. When that happens, tate bikya meh rahe udas. You learn the art of living amidst the entanglements of the world, which Guruji refers to as bikya, poison. You learn how to live amidst the entanglements with a mind that is detached. This is the cultivation that has to happen. And such is the great gift of the Guru. Satguru ki aisi vadiyai, putra kalatra viche gatapai. You find liberation while living among family and possessions. So this inner illumination that Guru Nanak is referring to is embodied intuitive awareness because it is within the body. The body, as the Guru says, is the paper on which the script is written, as we will see in a couple of sabads down the road. This means engaging with the world with enlightened wisdom. So not withdrawal from life, but the freedom to love, but without possession, compulsion, to act without entanglement, to being inwardly free while outwardly engaged. This is a skill. This is the Chardi Kala that we have to learn. Aisi sevak seva kare. Aisi sevak. If such is the cultivation, the service of the seeker, jiska jio tis aage tare, submitting to the Guru, that wisdom that will guide us. Sahib pave so parwan. Acceptance, parwan, acceptance, validation comes through the Guru. So sevak dargah pave man. At the threshold, dargah, the threshold of egoic consciousness and universal consciousness, hukam, there is a threshold, and it is that threshold that we have to cross over. But we can only cross over if we come up to standards, so to speak. And the standard is met through the Guru. So sevak dargah pave man. Then you are let into that higher consciousness. So you require a complete existential surrender, liberation through self-surrender. Satgur ki Murat Hirday Vasai. The Guru goes on to explain what service to the Guru. Install the Guru's form in the heart. Satgur ki Murat. How do you do that? What that means is internalize the living word, the instruction of the Guru. Internalize it. It will assume that form. You will assume that form. Jo ichha soi phal paay. Then what is desired comes to fruition. Because one then wishes only that which is true, not that which is egoic. Sacha Sahib kirpa kare. Sacha Sahib, the true sovereign. So sevak jamte kaise dare. So then how can the servant seeker have any fear of death? Bhanat nanak kare vichar. Bhanat is to reflect. And Guruji here identifies himself as engaging in bhanat, one who reflects, who contemplates, who articulates revelation. That's what Guruji is saying. Sachi Bani Syo Tare Pyar, that is his reflection. Taako Pave Mokh Dwar, Jap Tap Sab a-sabad hai sar, Jap Tap Sab a-sabad hai sar. The entire discipline of spirituality is in Sachi Bani Syo Tare Pyar, devotion to the sabad, the living word which bridges the finite and the infinite. Liberation, Mokhdwar, is an opening of the consciousness here and now through love of Sachi Bani. So this is a kind of musical participation. The individual being singing in harmony with divine rhythm. That's the essence of this sabad. Through the Guru, Sachi Bani Syo Tare Pyar. Fall in love with Bani. When you fall in love, you will be in rhythm with the harmony of the universe. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.